Show my. Okay.
You need to stop making those jokes.
Okay, so I guess in the last class we had looked at the structure of the heart to some extent, and we had looked at this part, if I remember it correctly. Yeah. Do you know?
Yes, artery.
Can someone confirm as well?
Yeah, we're done with this part.
This part.
Yeah, we did this.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So let me just quickly revise this. So this part we already know there are 4 chambers. It's muscular organ. Location wise, it's located in the thoracic cavity next to sternum, a little on left side. And it is when it is formed in the embryonic stage, it is formed from the mesodermal layer. That is the middle layer out of the 3 germ layers. Function, of course, you know. We had spoken, we discussed about these 2 ventricles, which are the lower compartments, and the 2 atria, which are the upper compartment. And ventricles, we know they always pump the blood out of the heart, and atria, they will always receive the blood. That way, these like 2 chambers or 2 respective upper and lower chambers, they will function. Upper chambers, they are always receiving. Lower chambers, they are always pumping the blood away from the heart. Now, both the right atrium and the left, right atrium as well as ventricle, it will form the right heart, and the respective left atrium and the left ventricle will form the left heart. And this right and left heart is separated by the septum, which is a muscular wall. Yeah, so that's what we had seen, and the reason for having this muscular wall was the like separation between deoxygenated and the oxygenated blood flow. So I hope up to this everyone remembers it. Now continuing with the same, I will speak of these first 3 points a little later because that will come in the structure of the heart. As of now, I am skipping that first 3 points. The external structure of the heart, it comprises of the pericardium. Pericardium, atrioventricular groove, and interventricular groove. Now the name will sound very, very complicated, but atrioventricular means between atria and ventricle, right? And groove, I assume you would like everyone would know. It's a simple English word. So that atrioventricular groove is there apart from the internal structure. This is talking of the external structure. That means how does a heart look like when you look at it as a whole organ from outside. So you will be able to see pericardium, you will be able to see a groove between atria and ventricle, and you will also be able to see a groove between interventricular groove, that means between the ventricles. So in short, what it is showing is, let's say if you look at this particular diagram, you will see interventricular. These are the lower chambers, that is interventricular. Now you can imagine, or let me show you in the other diagram. I guess that would be much better. So interventricular groove. So because let's see if we look at this now. Yes, that was the first one. Yeah, I guess this is good one. So if you look at this heart, which is like external view of the heart, the outermost layer will be pericardium, and then what you see here down, like a little groove, right? That is interventricular, that is between 2 ventricles, there is a groove, and there is a little groove here, which you can see. It is between, now not this blue part, actually blue part is the vein, but below the vein there will be a little groove, like little embossed area. So that way, that will be the atrioventricular groove. So these are the 2 structures, rather 3 structures, which are found in the external like overview of the heart. Now, specifically, we will look at the pericardium a little later. Now the external heart lies in the thoracic cavity and is protected by the rib cage. So please do not get confused between heart, internal heart and the external heart. External heart specifically refers to the external view. Internal heart, that means whatever is present inside the heart as the subcomponent of the heart. And of course the regular heart, you can combine it, the internal and external. And the internal structure of the heart, it comprises of the chambers, that is your atria and ventricles, and the walls of the heart, that is like a gateway between the atria ventricles and from ventricle to out, and the wall of the heart, that is the three layers which are present within the layers of the heart, that is epicardium, myocardium and endocardium. Now specifically, most of the students, they get confused between pericardium and these three layers. Pericardium is the outermost layer, that is even outside the heart, that is a part of external structure. And when you have heart inside, that is the internal structure, it has these three layers within its wall: epicardium, myocardium, endocardium. We will see each of these specifically. So pericardium. Now we all know the heart is located and situated in the chest region, and it is enclosed within a fluid filled cavity, and that cavity is known as pericardial cavity. Now just as an analogy I will give you, let's say you have a bag and within that bag you fill in potato or tomato whatsoever, yeah, any vegetable. So this bag is like your pericardial cavity or pericardium, and the stuff that you feel inside is like heart. So heart is being kept inside a bag, and that bag or sac like structure or that cavity is called as pericardium. I hope you are able to imagine this part. And this pericardium is having pericardial fluid or the cavity which is filled with fluid, and that fluid is called as pericardial fluid. So pericardium is a fiber membrane because it has to be little sturdy or stronger. So that's why it is made up of fibers and found as an external covering around the heart. So I hope this becomes even more clear when you read this: external covering of the heart. And it protects the heart by producing the serous fluid. Now the serous fluid refers to, like we know we have skin layers. One of them layer is serosa. So something similar exists within this pericardium, which is like a, and the fluid which is secreted by that layer becomes the serous fluid, and that is present between the heart and the pericardium layer, and that is what serves to lubricate the heart and prevent the friction between surrounding organs. Now that is the obvious function. Whenever we have brain, around the brain we have cerebrospinal fluid, and then outside is the skull. Similarly, we have lungs. Outside the lung, we have pleural cavity or pleura, which is the membrane outside lung. And similarly, like just like that, we have what we call pericardium and the heart inside this pericardium. So, like again, another analogy that I'll give you is like whenever we travel, we keep our like clothing separately, toiletries separately, shoes and chappal separately within individual bag. So our body is like that one bag, and then within that bag there will be small bags which are holding the internal organs together. So that is the exact analogy how this pericardium or even other membranes, they are present, and they will always have certain fluid which is lubricating fluid within them, so that the friction is less. And also the purpose of having this sac like structure is to hold the internal organ within its position. So pericardium also helps by holding the heart in its position and by maintaining a hollow space for the heart to expand itself when it is full. So obviously that is the main function of the heart, the pumping action. If it is not able to contract and relax, then there is no point having that heart in such a small space. So it should be able to expand itself when it is full or when it is relaxed. And that way, this pericardium allows the expansion of the heart as well. Okay, let me ask any question. If there are any question, please feel free to ask. I hope you have understood what pericardium is and what is the function of this pericardium.
Is there a picture of cake mixture?
Yes, that I can show you. Pericardium structure.
Sir,
Yes.
the heart is actually located in the center, right? But the left ventricle pumps more hard, so that's why we feel the heart on our left side.
No, sorry, I didn't get your question.
Yeah, I was saying that the heart is basically situated in the center, but the left ventricle it pumps harder. That's why we feel that our heart is on the left.
No, heart is actually located on your left side, not just because of the left ventricle.
No, but somewhere I read that the heart is located in center, but it is tilted towards the left, and the left ventricle, which is on the left side, it pumps more hard because it has to pump the whole pump blood to the whole body. That's why it pumps harder, and that's why we feel our heart on the left side.
That is not completely true. So if you touch just the center part of your chest, you will not feel any activity. Yeah, but if you move your hand slightly towards your left, that is where you feel. So right, like above your nipple, that is the mammary glands. There, that's where the heart is located, and it is not at the center. Yeah, you are right in a way that the left ventricle is bigger and it is inclined towards left side, and also the pumping is done by the ventricles, and that way you feel it. But then that is just the feeling, but location wise it is actually slightly towards the left from the center.
Yeah, slightly it is towards the left, but not too much on the left.
Yeah, but it is surely not at the center. That statement is wrong. Yeah, so it is actually slightly left, as in if you take from center to the like extreme left, it is at that first half from center to the center of the left side. I hope you got what I said. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is still like a left side, and that's what I see it like slight left. But it is wrong if we say if it is at the center. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, what I wanted to show here in this diagram is, like, you can see this blue structure which is being shown. Now here it might just appear like a layer which is around the heart, but this is actually like a complete sac like structure, which is like, if you can pick it up and put back the heart in that sac like blue sac like structure, that is pericardium. And this cavity which is generated between heart and pericardium is called as pericardial cavity, and which is ultimately filled with the pericardial fluid, which is a serous fluid, like that serosa layer. So I hope structure wise it is clear. Now the pericardium is specifically divided into two layers. Yeah, the moment we say pericardium is a layer, it can be single layer, double layer, triple layer, membrane, right? Pericardium is made up of these two layers, that is visceral and parietal layer. Visceral is the outer one. It directly covers the outside of the heart. Outer as in next to the heart, yeah, not the outermost, next to heart. When you go from center of the heart towards outside, that first layer that you will cross is the visceral layer, and then outermost one is the parietal one, which forms the sac around the outer region and contains the fluid what we know as pericardial fluid within the pericardial cavity. So if we move from outermost to the innermost, The first one you will have is the parietal, then the visceral, then epicardium, mesocardium, endocardium. So that way, that is the distribution of the layer, and then you will enter into one of the chambers, right? Whether it's a ventricle or auricle or atrium. So that way you will enter into those. But the outermost is the parietal, then visceral, and that is the parts of the pericardium, and then you will enter into what we call as epicardium, mesocardium, and endocardium. Okay, so then looking at these three layers of the wall, that's what I said. The outermost will be parietal, then the visceral, then epi, then myo, and then endocardium. Epicardium is the outermost layer of the heart, not the outermost part of the external heart. I hope you are understanding this particular part. So the outermost layer of the heart is known as epicardium. Epi stands for the outer, right? And it is composed of a thin layered membrane that serves to lubricate and protect the outer section. So obviously, it has to there will be pericardium, and epicardium will be in direct contact with the pericardium. So that will be having certain lubrication, and that lubrication has to protect the heart from different shocks as well as from a friction between these two layers. So that way, epicardium functions to lubricate the heart layers. Then the second layer within the heart walls, that is myocardium. It is the actual muscle tissue of the heart, right? So when we talk of cardiac muscle, we talk of myocardium mainly, which is a muscle tissue layer within the heart, and which is the second layer of the heart wall, and it constitutes the middle layer wall of the heart. It contributes to the thickness and is responsible for pumping action. Now, what does it mean by it contributes to thickness? Like again, another analogy I can give you. Like whenever we build a wall, we have a major portion been occupied by the bricks and cement, and then we have external plaster and internal plaster. That's something like epicardium, myocardium, and endocardium. Myocardium, which is the middle portion, which is like that brick-like portion, which is thicker compared to the external as well as the internal membrane, right? So that is how the myocardium functions. And the pumping action is done by this myocardium. So you can see if your epicardium is not functional to certain extent, you will still be fine. If your endocardium is not functional to some extent, it is still fine. If the myocardium is not functional, that means your pumping action itself is not going to happen. So ultimately, that's a situation like stopping the heart, or myocardial infarction, or cardiac arrest. Any of this situation can happen. So myocardium, these are like they have cells which are called as cardiomyocytes. And you have a question? Okay. So these myocardium layer, it has cells which are called as cardiomyocytes. These are the ones which will generate electrical impulse. And that way, the electrical activity or the contraction and relaxation of the heart goes on due to that electrical activity. And that is what leads to the ultimately pumping action of the heart. So myocardium is one of the most important layer within the heart. Then endocardium, which is the innermost layer of the heart, lines the inner heart chambers and covers the heart walls as well. Yeah. So what it means is like we have the complete inner covering of the heart, even through these walls like structure. So let me just show you here. So these are different chambers, 1, 2, this third one, and the fourth one. So the what was endocardium will be present throughout these layers. Whatever you see internal, even around this wall like structure on both sides, and then it will cover throughout. So that is what it means by it lines the inner heart chambers and in even the heart walls. The function of endocardium is to prevent the blood from sticking, or rather the blood cells from sticking to the inner walls, and thereby they prevent the potentially fatal blood clots. It's a very natural tendency for RBCs or WBCs to kind of attack on the wall, not attack as in literally attack, but just to stick to these walls. The moment they are sticking to the wall, it will start building up a blood clot or even a mass of cell, and that will lead to the problems in the pumping action of the heart. It might create blood pressure issues. So that way, this endocardium avoids formation of the clot or mass or clump of the cells, and it will allow smoother functioning of the heart pumping. So these are the three different layers: epicardium, myocardium, and endocardium. Again, any question, anyone here? I hope you have understood these different layers around the heart.
If epicardium and was lastly endocardium stop working, so like it won't
Heart will stop working as well.
Oh, so like any of those.
They are required. It is not an optional. They are required. It just
Could you go back to the previous records?
they are just like accessory to the main myocardium. Like if the endocardium is not there, or if it is not intact, it will allow the blood clot formation, which can lead to the serious heart attack, right? If the epicardium is not functional, it will cause more and more friction of the heart, which will again lead to the death of the cells, which is of myocardium. So ultimately no pumping action. So that way, all of them are important, but relatively myocardium being one of the major, even in thickness and even in terms of its action, it is a little more important. Anyone else has any question? Okay. Okay, so then I will move further. So now we will come to this part where we will actually be looking at different structures and how they are arranged, and then the further what we say the mechanism of the blood flow. So the chambers of the heart, four ones that we know already: left atrium, right atrium, left ventricle, right ventricle. Now, if we compare the atria and ventricle with each other, atrias, they are relatively thin walled, less muscular wall, and smaller than the ventricles in their size. So, like if we take one of the atrium, and if you compare it with the ventricle, you will find they have thin and less muscular walls and smaller than the ventricles, and these are blood receiving chambers that are fed by the large veins. I will just show you this diagram here. So like not the diagram, the representation. So you see here it is right atrium, left atrium. These both, they are relatively smaller in shape, right? And size, not shape, relatively smaller in size, and they are fed up with these, not fed up, they are fed with these veins which are supplying the blood to the right atrium. And if you look at this diagram now, you can see this chamber, yeah, where my cursor is moving. I hope you are able to see these one and this second one. These are the atria. This one is right atrium, this one is left atrium, and compared to the ventricles, whether right or left, these are relatively smaller. And even if you look at the wall thickness, this is shown very thin and this is shown very thick, because ventricles, they have thicker walls, atria, they have thinner walls and also the small size. And like I said, they always will receive the blood. Ventricles, they are relatively larger. They have more muscular chamber. That means they have more muscles in the walls, and they are responsible for pumping the blood or pushing the blood out of the circulation, out to the circulation, not out of circulation. That is, from these chambers, the blood will flow into the aorta, and then from that aorta, it will go into different body parts. Or from right ventricle, it will go towards the lung for oxygenation. So that way, the ventricles, they will always push out the blood out of the heart into the circulation. And these are connected to larger arteries that deliver the blood for circulation. So both the ventricles, they are actually connected to the arteries that will deliver the blood for circulation. So again, for example, this one, yeah, if you look at the ventricle, it is connected to the main artery, that is the aorta. Now, the one of the factor that I must mention is this schematics is showing the blood flow down, right? And if you look at this diagram, the aorta is up, right? So this is the actual structure of the heart. Yeah, this is just the representation, just for simplification they have shown you this, so do not get confused by that fact as well. Usually the blood is pumped upward, which is against the gravity, into the aorta, and from that aorta it leads to several branches, and from there it goes to different body parts. On the other hand, from right ventricle, blood will be pumped again. If you see this pulmonary artery, right, this path will be followed by from this right ventricle. So blood from right ventricle will go to pulmonary artery, that is lung artery, right? So the lung will receive this blood from the right ventricle. So again, that will get more clarity in the when we look at the mechanism part of blood. So atria, in short, thin walled and smaller in size, and they are receiving chambers. Ventricles, these are larger in size, and they are thicker in thicker muscular wall, and they always pump out the blood into the circulation, either to the lung or to the body parts. And they are connected, of course, to the larger arteries that will deliver the blood for circulation. Now, the even within the ventricles and the right side, the right ventricle and the right atrium, they are comparatively smaller than the left chambers. So again, if I show you in this diagram, the right atrium will be smaller than the left atrium. Right ventricle will be smaller than the left ventricle. There is a reason for this. Can someone guess it and tell me what could be the reason?
That the left ventricle is bigger.
Yeah, even the left atrium is bigger.
Because it holds the oxygenated blood.
Yeah, but why it has to be bigger then?
Because there's
Yes, sir, because it pumps to the whole body, right?
Correct.
So that's why it needs to pump with force.
Yeah, so like because it has oxygenated blood and that has to be pumped to the body. So that's why these chambers are bigger. It's like whenever we have muscular activity, more and more muscular activity, and more stronger the activity of the muscles, your muscle, they tend to increase a bit in size, a little, maybe in you will see, but that is the true case. And naturally itself, if you look at the left side, these atria and the ventricles on the left side, they are slightly bigger than the ones on the right side. And that is very obvious thing, because oxygenated blood needs to be pumped into different body parts. So that's why they are relatively bigger. Now the walls consist of fewer muscles compared to the left portion, and again their walls also, they will be having fewer muscles compared to the left portion. That means uh, wait, I guess this statement is wrong here. the wall consists of fewer muscles compared to the left portion. I don't know what that means, but ideally, if the left side is bigger, left side also has little thicker wall. So if you look at ventricle, which is very apparent, if you look at this thickness of the left ventricle, and if you look at the right ventricle, and if you look at the thickness of the left ventricle is more thicker than the right ventricle. My bad, people, I'm sorry. Right ventricle thickness is less compared to left ventricle, which is more thicker in nature. So it is bigger as well as having thicker walls around it. And again, the same logic, because it has to pump into the body organs, or through the veins it has to go to body organs, it needs to have lot of pressure. So stronger the muscles, the push of the blood can be stronger, and that's why it is thicker. So left ventricle is bigger in size compared to all other three. Surely it is bigger than the right ventricle, and it also has the thickest wall around it. Yeah. So I hope this point is clear. I will just remove this point because I'm not really sure. It could be a little wrong. Okay, let me just remove this part. Okay, the blood originating from the right side will flow through the pulmonary circulation, while the blood from the left chamber will be pumped throughout the body. Now, what does this mean is, again, I'll go back here. The blood which is pumped from the right side, right, from right ventricle, it will go to the lung, and it will come back to the left side. So this particular part where the blood is going to the lungs is part of pulmonary circulation, and this part where the blood is going to the body organs, this is part of the systemic circulation, right? So that way the classification of the blood flow is done with respect to these different structure. Again, here if you have to show from this right ventricle, the blood will flow through via pulmonary artery into the lungs, and the blood from left ventricle will go into aorta to ultimately to the different body organs. Okay, I guess we should not start with the walls today. Okay, I guess let me stop here. Yeah, 1 minute. Because if we start with the walls, we need to understand the whole of the mechanism as well before we go into the wall structure. And we may not be able to finish in whatever time left, kind of 15 minutes or so. So let me stop here. I would prefer to stop the class early. And if you have any questions, you can ask. Which one? This one? If you have any question, please feel free to ask. If not, we will stop for today. Okay, so I assume there are.
Sir, I will stay there.
Okay, yes. Rest of the people, thank you very much for joining, and I will see you again in the next class. Bye bye. Have a good day. No, still there.